Okay, so we're going to start with chapter 4, but I want to kind of preface this with, I want to explain topic versus main idea. So a lot of students think they're interchangeable. They're not the same thing. And I'm not sure, but I think that's even I'm pretty sure it's a test, one of the quiz questions. So one of the questions on the quiz is, what's the difference between topic and main idea? Because a lot of people think they're the same thing. So topic is who or what the passage is about, okay? It's generally a word or a phrase, okay? So the topic, if you're trying to figure it out, you think, okay, who or what is this passage about? And you look for maybe a word or a phrase, okay? It's not usually really long. Main idea, the main idea is the author's point or most important thing about the topic. So when you're asking for topic, you're just looking for who or what is it about. It's a word or a phrase. If you are looking to find the main idea, you are looking for the author's main point about the topic. So whatever the topic is. As a general rule, in the main idea sentence, you're going to find the topic word, okay? I don't know if I shut my door. Is someone out there? Okay. So the main idea as a general rule is a sentence, okay? As a general rule, topic is a word or a phrase. So that's another way it may help you as well. It's not perfect all the time, but these are kind of little tricks or kind of techniques or strategies you can do it. So topic is who or what it's about. Main idea is the author's point, most important point about that topic. So for example, if I have a passage and the topic is about dogs, right? That's the topic. The whole thing is about dogs one way or another. To find the main idea sentence, I would look for, okay, what is the author's most important point they want the reader to know about dogs? Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to focus on, what the French toast, man. I don't know why my buttons, oh, there we go. All of a sudden, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So that's topic versus main idea. Now, in main idea, there are two kinds of main idea sentences, right? Or, I'm sorry, let me back up. There are two types of main idea. They're stated and implied, okay? So again, I'm pretty sure this is a test question or a quiz question. So you're going to have to know this to write this out. So stated, when I say, hey, I want you to find the stated main idea, stated means exactly like it sounds. It's stated somewhere in the passage. They give you a sentence that is the main idea, okay? So stated means it's actually given to you in the passage. There's a sentence in there that is the author's point. Okay, the second one is implied. Implied means they give you clues, but you have to figure it out. So this is called, you have to infer. Infer is, the best way I can kind of phrase this is kind of read between the lines. If you infer something, that means something is not said directly, but there are all kinds of clues and you kind of pick up the message. Does that make sense for you a little bit? Okay. So we're going to be focusing on stated and implied main ideas today. Topic versus main idea. I want to make sure you understand the difference between them, okay? But we're going to focus on main ideas. So as I said before, main idea is the major point or the author's most important point about the topic. Once you get the main idea, then you can kind of prioritize information, what is important that you need to know, that type of a thing. My buttons, oh, there we go. So when you want to find the stated main idea, always start with the topic. Who or what is that whole thing about, right? And then you're looking for, okay, what's the author's main point about that topic? Is there a sentence in the passage that tells me exactly what the author's point is? Or do all sentences support a main idea? So we talked about topic. We don't really need to talk about mind map. Okay, so this is kind of an example. The more general idea it is, the more likely it's a topic. So another clue for, okay, how to figure out a topic, it's usually general. Remember, I just used that example, dog, right? If it's a very specific or it has specific details in it, it's probably not the topic, okay? If you take a look at this one, they just kind of do a breakout. This is just an example. So if the topic is fruit, in the passage, the main idea, in other words, what's the author's point they're trying to make about fruit? Fruit are seed-bearing parts of the plant. Oh, wow, isn't that nice? A big old typo on that PowerPoint. Did you catch that? And then a supporting detail. This is a sentence in there that supports the main idea. In other words, they support the author's point, which is a tomato is a fruit. Now, the whole passage wouldn't be that a tomato is a fruit. That's not what the author's talking about. If the topic was tomato, then the author's main point might be that a tomato is fruit, but the topic is simply fruit. Okay, so my question, let me give you some strategies, okay? So when you go for the topic, the first thing you want to do, just like you would normally skim through. What is it mostly about? What are most of the sentences kind of referring to or talking about? Just kind of skim it through and read. That's going to give you your best start on this. Remember, main idea is the principal point the author's trying to make about the topic, okay? Stated main idea, this sentence will be explicitly given in the text to you. Implied means it is not automatically given to you. It's not necessarily directly in there, but there are different kinds of clues in there that you can read kind of between the lines and then infer what the author's point is. Okay? All right. As a general rule, the stated main idea in general is usually in the top third of a passage. It's usually at the beginning. However, that is not a hard and fast rule. It can actually be anywhere. Main ideas can be anywhere in the passage. So don't automatically think it's always in the first third. More likely, it'll be found in the top third, but that's not a for sure, okay? It can be found anywhere in the reading. All right, so here are strategies. The first strategy, if you want to find the main idea, question yourself, what is this about? Ding, 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 what are you looking for? What is this about? Who or what is it about? You're looking for the topic, okay? Find the topic. And then next is look in the usual places. So start looking at the top part and see if anything up there, if the author's trying to make a point about that topic. Notice word clues. Word clues are things that refer to something else. His, her, those kinds of things. And then remember, your topic is general, but the author's point will be more specific about that topic. So let's try one together here. Let's just do this one. I've got it up on the big screen. I'll read it out loud just for the sake of time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to find the topic first, and then we're going to try to find the stated main idea, the author's point about that topic. So here we go. A common mistake in slicing sandwich meats thick instead of thin. Oh, I'm sorry. A common mistake is slicing sandwich meats thick instead of thin. A few thick slices of meat stacked on a sandwich will have far less volume and therefore look like less than an equal amount of thinly sliced meat. Also, thicker cut meats tend to be chewier, especially when cold. Thinly sliced sandwich meats make the sandwich portion appear larger, are more tender, and are generally easier to eat. Okay, who or what is that all about? We want to look for the topic first. So to find the topic, remember, we're looking for who or what, and we're looking, it's a word or a phrase. What do you think? Take a stab. What do you think that passage is about?
Slicing sandwich.
Is it slicing sandwich or is it slicing sandwich meats? Yeah, so the topic would either be sandwich meats or slicing sandwich meats. Either one would be totally fine. That's what the whole thing is about, right? Okay, so now we have our topic. What is the author's main point? We're looking for the main idea in there. What is the author's main point about slicing sandwich meats?
I come out thick and thin.
Say again.
I come out thick and thin.
Okay, so is the point that they come out thick or thin? What is he trying to make a point about the sandwich meats? I think you're on the right track.
Is less greater than the plate.
Right, so it's, in other words, it's better to be thin than thick, right? There's no sentence that says that except there's one sentence in there. Remember, we're looking for a stated main idea, which means it says, the author's telling us, and the author is telling us their point about slicing sandwich meats. A common mistake is that slicing sandwich meats thick instead of thin. So it was in the top third, that kind of fits one of our rules. And you're right, it has to do with thick and thin and the sandwich meats. So the rest of the sentences kind of support that. They tell why thick is not good and why thin is good. So those are detailed sentences after it. So you're on the right track, good. Okay. So here's just a mind map example. I don't use a mind map in this, I use the clues, but you are welcome to do the mind mapping. Okay, so my question to you before I move on, let's do a pop quiz. Who can tell me what's the difference between topic and main idea? So question number, I don't know, I'll pretend. Question number 2 on your quiz. What is the difference between topic and main idea? What would you write?
Topic is who or what, and then the word or phrase, and then the main idea is the author's point of the topic.
Yes, that would get you a full credit. Yes. Yep. So you don't have to have exactly those words, but you have to have it close enough that I know what you mean, because you're going to be typing it out. Okay. So be very clear. Author's point about the topic, right? If you just say the author's point, it's not enough. Okay. All right, good. All right, let's take a look here at, oh yeah, okay. Let's go to next. I want to talk about implied main idea. This one's a little tougher. It's primarily inferencing. So you're inferring. The best way I can describe that is like you're reading between the lines. It's not right there, but you kind of pick up that message. Have you ever picked up a message like when you, texting is really not a good job for that. Because you text, you can infer all kinds of things and it could be wrong, right? And that is a drawback. When you infer the main idea, sometimes you could be wrong based on the clues that you chose to do. So we're going to work on this one, using inference to identify implied main idea. So let me get this from the beginning here. And I'm going to share my screen again with you. What is going on? Just a second here. I'm hoping I have the right one. Let me come back in. We're going to share screen again. Sorry. I think I have to enable editing first. Start my slideshow from beginning. There we go. Okay, excellent. Now, if I go, it should be all good. Yep, there we go. Okay. So, identifying implied mean ideas. So, one of the things you kind of ask yourself is, how do you know if someone really meant, even though they didn't say it? That's called inferencing. You infer things, even though they don't directly tell you something. So, for example, actually, I've directly told you, so it's not a good example. I have inferred several ways that you should pay attention to what I'm telling you, right? How have I done that? Well, I said, oh, this might be on quiz number, whatever, question number 2. This one. I have not directly told you, you need to pay attention and take notes, but I have definitely implied and you have inferred that you need to pay attention and take notes, right? Based on some of the information I've given you, okay? When we do things, and I said this earlier, text is not the best example, but when we do things by email or texting, what do we all, well, not always, but what do we use a lot of times to help us with tone and to help convey meaning? Like, how do you know if someone's kidding you in a text message? What do you use quite often? Do you all text? Okay. Yeah, you use what?
Punctuation.
Not punctuation. I mean, punctuation's good. Like if I put an exclamation mark, you know that. But okay, here we're gonna. Ooh, this is my water. I'll give you an example. I text Kaylee. I'll text you that you better get your butt in here right now. If I don't do anything else with that, you could infer that I'm really angry. But what would I use at the end of that or somewhere in that message to let you know that I'm not mad, but I'm joking?
That exclamation point.
No, it's got nothing to do with the punctuation, by the way. When you text message, quite often don't you use emojis?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay. So you use emojis, a little happy face, maybe some LOL, you do a funny thing, right? To tell them, oh, I'm joking or I'm kidding, right? So we don't use emojis in the academic world, right? So it's really important you pay attention to the clues within the passage to figure out what the implied main idea is, okay? And quite often tone of voice, the tone they use, that can help, right? When you hear someone, when you see someone in person, there's all kinds of clues you can pick up on so that you infer the right message. So if I would say, I want you to stop by my office. Okay, so although I said that same thing where I said, I want you to stop by my office. Okay, there's two things. One, you infer you're in trouble. The other one, you would infer, oh, she just wants to see me. Or maybe she's got a treat or something like that, right? Tone of voice, stance, postures, all those kinds of things help you infer the correct message, okay? So those are all things about inferring that we don't use when you're writing, right? Especially in the academic arena. Okay. One of the reasons you want to be able to infer correctly is you want to be able to identify bias. So does everybody understand what bias is? It becomes really important when you hit English 103 and 104 and you do research. Bias means kind of, the best way I describe it is your slant on things, your perception on things. So for example, I'm a teacher and quite often I'll have conversations with athletes, right? I make no bones about it. I'm very biased toward academics. versus athletics. That doesn't mean I'm anti-athletics. It just means that I'm more biased. I want you to do well on academics. I care more about that than I do how many points you score in a game. Although they're both good things, don't get me wrong, but that's what bias is, okay? So often you can use words that convey emotion that show bias. So for example, a piece of writing can have a particular tone in which they say, undereducated America voted for Trump. Okay, now, number one, it shows a bias. They use the word undereducated America. It's kind of like a slam, isn't it? Right? They're saying, oh, if you're not educated, you must have voted for this person here, right? So tone is in writing. You use tone. And that can help you when you're inferring, looking for tone. Also, look for, obviously, topic and main idea. What is the author's point that they're trying to make about that topic? Also, are they trying to inform? Are they trying to persuade? Are they, what is their purpose in writing? So when you read, you got to do more than just read the words on the page. You got to kind of go beyond that. You have to read between the lines. You have to understand what the author had in mind when they wrote, even if they don't directly state it. And this happens quite a bit in the academic arena. Not as much in your early years. So for example, your freshman, sophomore years, where you're at right now, most of your writing will have stated main ideas. In other words, the author will be very clear about making their point about the topic, what they want you to understand. But as you get in more advanced levels, it becomes more and more implied, okay? So to understand what's implied, start mentally building on what they actually stated. So they may state certain things. And in your mind, create, what do you think the author intended, okay? All of this is making inferences. Use your assumptions. Assumptions are built on prior knowledge or beliefs that you have over your life. The word of caution here, assumptions may or may not be factual. Even though you feel it is correct or whatever, it may not be a fact. Okay? It may also include information you may never have questioned before. I'm trying to think of an example of this. And I can't really think of one off the top of my head. I guess the best example I can come up with is if you have had an understanding of something that is incorrect most of your life, okay, that's your prior knowledge, that's your understanding, that doesn't mean that it's a fact or it's correct. I'll use this one. I had an essay years and years and years ago, good essay. And a student wrote in there, they used a phrase, when you're with a significant other, you need to stay with them through sick and sin. Through sick and sin. And I read that, and that is actually not the phrase. Does everybody know what the phrase is? Do you know what that cliche or what that phrase is? Like when they say it about marriage quite often or relationships, you should stay with a person through thick and thin. That's actually the phrase, right? He wrote through sick and sin. Okay, conceptually, it still works, right? And that's how he had been raised. His father was a minister, and he often preached from the pulpit. And he would use this phrase, through sick and sin, right? In that person's mind, that was correct. It was factual. He used on that prior knowledge. But it wasn't factual. It wasn't correct. So this is what I mean. If you have had, for lack of a better word, misinformation on something, and you think it's correct, that could hinder some of your assumptions you make when you infer when you read. Okay? All right. Work with the text to figure out the main idea. Ask your sentences I'm sorry, ask yourself, what do those sentences support? And then take what you read, add to what you know, be careful of assumptions, and then that will help you make inferences to find a reasonable main idea. Okay? All right. Whoops. Okay, we got one more. We're going to talk about patterns. Okay, we got a slideshow from beginning. Okay. We're going to talk about, I think it's 7 different ones we're going to talk about today. Patterns are what's going on or basically how the author is laying out the information for you, how that's going on, okay? So the good news is your brain likes to find patterns naturally, okay? That's a naturally. Bonus for those of you paying attention to the video or here today, that's also going to be a quiz question, okay? Your brain does like to do it naturally, okay? So when you're reading, part of it is you look for a pattern to kind of help you differentiate what is the author's purpose for writing, okay? Think of it as like a puzzle. What kind of puzzles do you like to do? Why do you like doing puzzles? Does anybody here do puzzles? Does anybody like doing puzzles? No puzzles for anybody here? I don't either. The only puzzles I like are like the video game puzzles. I play like Candy Crush, where you find the 3 in a row or whatever. That's it. The old school. Now my dad, who's 86, of course he's never played a video game in his life, doesn't know anything about it. He loves regular old school puzzles. Like he doesn't do anything less than 1,000-piece puzzles. That's what he always does, right? So every Christmas we buy him a 1,000-piece puzzle, right? That's my idea of torture. But anyways, there's all different kinds of puzzles, right? So the good news is your brain looks for patterns naturally. And think about, what do you do when a puzzle becomes difficult? You look for different pieces to help you. So for example, when my dad does a puzzle, one of the things is he looks at the edges and he identifies the edge pieces first, right? When I do a puzzle, I go by color. I'm like, ooh, okay, there's blues. Let's put all the blues over here. It's probably a cloud or a sky or something like that, right? Can you think of 3 things, just anything in your life that has a pattern? Can you think of anything? I mean, I know it's early. I'm making you think. Nothing? I think there's a pattern in my class. Can you think of a pattern that you have found in my class? There's a pattern with the quizzes. They are all on Moodle, right? We don't do paper pencil, so that's a bit of a pattern, you can see. And I'm also very predictable in how the questions lay out. They're always in the same way. They're usually about the same amount, although this quiz will be a little bit more. Okay. So how can what you read have a pattern? How are there patterns in writing? And that's what we're talking about. Pattern is simply how the writing is organized. How did the author organize? And some of the things they do is they give you clues in the reading to identify patterns. So for example, then, afterward, later, next, finally. This is something we teach also in English 103 and 104. We call them transitions. So for example, if you were talking about 3 things, you have a thesis that names 3 things you're going to talk about in the essay, you would start the first paragraph by saying, okay, first I want to talk about blah, 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 blah. And then you would go, next, I want to talk about blah, 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 right? And then when you end, you would say, finally, I want to talk about blah, 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 right? Those are keywords to indicate a pattern, right? Now, there are all different patterns in our writing, okay? And we're going to talk about some of them. Why do they use patterns? Well, it's a method of organizing the information to help the reader understand or accept what they're saying, okay? They have a purpose about the order they choose, And knowing the pattern kind of helps you mentally put the ideas in the proper place and understand what the author's purpose is. Okay, remember I said the brain loves to see patterns. I guarantee that's a quiz question. Categories are a type of pattern. So when they put them in particular categories, they are doing patterns. And it helps the brain and helps the reader more easily recall information. Okay, so let's talk about them. Oh, what the French toast. Oh, I didn't go over all of them. Okay, in the book, the PowerPoint doesn't cover this, so I'm going to lecture here a minute. There are different types of patterns, so I'm going to talk about this in a minute. Again, they're in the book, so if you want to open up to chapter 7, I did not bring my textbook with me. But if you open up to chapter 7, I'll talk about it and explain each one. And the reason you need to be able to identify and have a really good understanding of these patterns is I believe not quite half, almost half of the quiz are passages, and then you identify the type of pattern. Okay? So the first one I want to talk about is list. Okay, quite often an author will use a list when they talk about things in the writing. Okay, they just organize it by list. So the thing you need to know about list is there's no particular order. You can do it in any order. So I always think of list as like, okay, grocery list. It does not matter the order you get your items as long as all those items are in the cart when you check out, right? So list is kind of any order. The second one I want to talk about is sequence. This one's a little different. They're very similar. Okay, so sequence also has a bunch of things. However, sequence, the order is important. Things must be done in a specific order. I could use tennis, for example. If I'm going to teach you how to play tennis, I want to teach you how to serve. I know nothing about tennis, so don't don't hold me to this. And I would say, okay, you would want to bounce the ball, let it come up in the air, swing your racket back, make contact with the ball. But they have to be done in a certain order, because if you swing your racket before the ball is in the air, right? So sequence is a particular order of things, okay? Another one I want to talk about is cause and effect. So cause and effect is usually like a situation or something that happened, and then the effect is a result of that situation. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, maybe something about that. So one of the things we could talk about is teenage pregnancy. So teenage pregnancy is on the rise, and then consequently, buzzword, which is saying what's an effect of that? Consequently, there's a need for daycare, more and more daycares in the high schools and the colleges, okay? So cause is a situation or incident of some sort. Effect is the result of that. Does that help you so far on cause and effect? Okay, another one I want to talk about. Definition, quite often it's also example. Okay? Definition is exactly what it sounds like. It's where the author talks to you and kind of explains what it is or how it works. So for example, if there's a passage, the topic is about condominiums, and that passage goes on to explain a condominium is a shared time, you own the property, however you have an HOA, all these kinds of things. They're defining what a condominium is for you. And quite often they'll also give an example in it. Okay. List, sequence, cause and effect, definition, example. I'm missing some. Who has their book open? I'm missing 3. Ooh, there we go. Compare and contrast. I'm always surprised how many students, I didn't know this for a long time. Does anybody know what compare and contrast is? If I say I want you to compare and contrast, what am I telling you to do? Ah, good. So compare means the author's comparing or saying how two things are alike. Contrast means they're doing two things and saying how they are different. Okay? So that pattern is compare. So compare and contrast. So the trick to this one is, okay, are they talking about two different things? Are they saying how they're alike? Are they saying how they are different? So for example, in this one, if I have a passage and I talk about the cost of a 2-year college versus a 4-year college, and I talk about all the differences between them, then I'm contrasting, right? And if I talk about how they are alike, they are comparing. But that would be the compare-contrast pattern, okay? What's another one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is it? Oh yeah, analysis. Is there another word with analysis? Okay. So analysis is when they are breaking something apart, looking and examining all the pieces to tell you how it goes together or how it works. So if you're analyzing something, so for example, we did an analysis. You remember you had to do an analysis, a test analysis report. So you analyzed, which means you looked at each of the different parts of the test taking process. You're previewing, you're studying the actual behaviors during the test, right? To analyze and see and make an evaluation. What are things you're doing well? What are things you got to work on, right? So that's a good example of analysis. I'm missing one. What is my last one?
So there's another one, but it doesn't have the name for it.
Yeah, well, and some of them we don't need. There's 7 main primary ones is what I'm looking for. Oh, it's an extension of this.
Oh.
Yeah, I did definition, I did sequence, cause effect analysis, listing. Oh, maybe, okay, I got them all. Woo-hoo! Go me. So my question is, are you fairly confident in understanding those? Is there anything I can do to help you understand them better?
Oh no, never mind.
List, sequence, cause and effect, definition, example, compare, contrast, analysis. So those are the different writing patterns that you would want to try to identify. So let me go in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share because I think I already did the quiz, but let's talk about this. So the quiz is primarily on stated and implied main ideas. However, there are several passages that you have to identify what the pattern is, or you have to identify the topic, or you have to find the main idea. So this quiz, more than any other, is application. The best way to do that is practice with some of the practice ones in the book. We did a couple on the big screen. So if I give you this one, which one of these, I'm just going to give you 4 choices. Which one of these is going to be a topic? You don't have the passage. I'm just going to give you, I want you to figure out which of these 4 is the topic. Are you ready? Okay. The U.S. birth rate is declining. U.S. birth rate, U.S. birth rate is declining, that's A. U.S. birth rate, that's B. In 2011, there were 63 births per 1,000 women, that's C. 50 years ago, raising children was the only option open to women, that's D. Now, based on what you know and what we talked about with topic, Which of those would fit the bill for topic? Yeah, U.S. birth rate. Because topic is who or what it's about. It's got to be general, right? And it's a word or a phrase. If you notice, all the other ones have either some very specific information in it or were full sentences. Make sense? Okay. We already practiced this, but who wants to be a risk taker? Who told me this last time? I think you did, so I don't want to hear from you again. You got it right last time. Summarize the difference between topic and main idea. FYI, this is a question on the quiz, and you have to type it out. So it's not a multiple choice. You're going to have to type it out like an essay. Except it's not a big essay, it's just, type a couple sentences. So what would you write? Yeah, go for it.
I think topic is like the thing that you're talking about, the main thing that you're talking about. Like
You're on the right track.
okay, like a title, like
Could be, the topic could be a title.
yeah, I think, I don't know.
Okay.
And then what's the next one?
Main idea.
Oh yeah, main idea is like
Okay,
main
good
idea.
shot.
No. It's like the first. I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. You gave it a shot, which is why we're talking it out. Chris, you want to give it a shot? What's the difference between topic and main idea? She was partially there. If you're going to write it out, what would you write?
The authors, what is the authors talking about? It's talking, stating, word or phrase. Who and what is it talking about? That's the topic.
All right, so if you wrote topic is who or what the author's talking about, that would be fine. That's only half. Because I said, now what's, remember, what's the difference between the two? So you've got topic, what's main idea?
Main idea is what is the author's.
Yes. You are so close.
Someone knows what I only want to look
Yeah, go from memory. The author's what? You're right. You can almost taste it, can't you? Yeah, it's all right. Author's point about the topic. So a couple of words of caution. When you are writing about topics, so the question literally says, summarize the difference between topic and main idea. Don't use main when you're talking about topic. Topic is who or what it's about. If you use main, all of a sudden you start getting confused with main idea. Don't use that in your definition. Stated main idea is author's point about that topic. Okay? So you don't necessarily have to write long stuff. You just have to demonstrate you know the difference between them. So just a couple of short sentences will be sufficient. Okay. Michael, do you think you can do this one? I don't know if you can or not, because I know you missed some of it. So if you say no, you don't want to, then just tell me. Okay? So give it a shot though. What is the difference between stated main idea and implied main idea? I guarantee this is a question on the quiz.
Stated main idea is stated in the text.
Yes! Go you. And then therefore implied means what?
It's not in the text. Well, I don't know.
You were close. Stated means exactly what you said. It's stated, it's given to you in the text.
Yeah.
Implied means they give you clues.
But you gotta look for it.
Right, you have to infer. So yeah, I mean, you'd be really, really close. The trick to this now, remember, when you were writing out your answers, you have to address everything within it. If you only give me half, it won't give it to you. So make sure you give me both sides if I ask for both sides. Okay. All right. if you are looking for a main idea, it's always good to use the strategies they talked about in the book, but also use multiple strategies, a variety of strategies. Use more than one strategy. If you only do, remember we said, oh, it might be in the first third, but it can be anywhere, right? There are a couple of little criteria. So for example, if you're trying to find topic, and you're like, oh, it's a word or a phrase, it's a word or a phrase, but it's also going to be very general, right? So use more than one strategy to determine what you're looking for, okay? Okay, here we go. One of the patterns, one of these patterns. Are you ready? I wrote a book on tennis. And in this book, there's a passage on how to serve the ball. What pattern would that be? It would be sequence, because there is a specific order that things have to be done. Good. Okay. Same book, right? Wrote a book on tennis. And I also have a passage stating the reasons why a server may not be hitting the ball. What pattern would that be? Nope, not cause and effect. Actually, it could be, because the cause is you're not hitting the ball, or I'm sorry, the cause could be something, and the effect is you're not hitting the ball. So I'll give it to you. I could also be listing, because if I just list all the reasons why, right, you don't hit the ball, but on all of them, the effect is you can't hit the ball. So I'm gonna go with cause and effect. I think that's a better answer. Okay. So, as I said before, the bulk of this quiz is going to be passage, and it's going to ask you to do something or ask you to identify something. The best way to practice is to do those practice ones in the book. Hint, hint, there's probably a few that are coming from the book that I used on the quiz. Questions or concerns so far? Okay, where are we at in your understanding? Are you feeling comfortable? Are you feeling like, yeah, this quiz is not going to be a big deal? Okay. No answer is affirmation in my world, for good or for bad. Here to help you, but if you don't need my help, that's okay too. Couple of things. This week, we are in Module 12. You only have two things. So one is the quiz. I've already talked about that pretty heavily with content. Feel free, information is taken from the PowerPoint and the book. Okay, those two things. The other item is the discussion forum. And in the discussion forum, what I'm asking you to do is practice your test prediction questions. So if you were going to create questions for this quiz, what are some questions that you would create? Okay? I want you to create 5 questions for chapter 4 and 5 questions for chapter 7. So you're going to go chapter 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are your questions that you think would make good test questions? And then do the same thing. Chapter 7, it's same form. Chapter 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What would make good questions for a test from those? Okay? The reply portion is you go into whoever, 2 people, and you go in and answer their questions. Okay? Not a tough form. So in other words, I was going to say no 7-sentence minimum, but the only thing you have to do are the questions. You don't have to preface it with anything. You don't have to have other writing, but you need 10 questions if you want the full post credit. And they have to be different questions, right? You can't have the same question repeated. And then if you want credit for the reply, you had to have gone in and answered one person's all their questions. And then if you want credit for the second reply, you have to go into another and answer all their questions. Okay? But you don't have to write complete sentences or anything like that. You can, but, you know, it is English, so make an attempt at full, whatever, capitalization, punctuation, those kinds of things. So it's a fairly, in my mind, I think it's an easy discussion forum. It helps you practice thinking about test questions. The quiz is on Moodle, and it's an automatically graded item. Don't start it till you're ready. That being said, the cutoff is Sunday midnight. So even though, you know, campus is closed from Wednesday through Sunday, right? You know, Moodle's always open. It's 24/7. So the deadline holds till Sunday if you don't want to do it till later in the week. If you want to get everything done and have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, then yeah, get that baby done tonight. But I don't make you do that. Everything's open till Sunday midnight, just like normal. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Hold on.